Alright, time to record another YouTube video. So, this is Vulcan Gaming, and today I wanted to talk about Stoicism and when life gets hard. So, in the past month, I've had three major things happen in my life. First, my job, my full-time job, severely cut everybody's hours. The second thing going on in my life is my car just experienced a major mechanical breakdown. And three, my senior dog, who's about to turn 14, is starting to experience some concerning symptoms. And all this is, like I said, in the past month. And I should preface this. Stoicism isn't something that I would say I'm an expert on. I have books that I've been wanting to read, but just haven't gone around to reading them just yet. I have mainly watched videos because that's what you do in this day and age on any topic that you want to know more about. So I've watched plenty of stoic videos and about stoicism and being resilient, and a lot like that has really resonated with me as I've gotten older. So I'm in my early 30s, and one thing about getting older is just learning how to learning how to, what's the saying I'm thinking of? Walk with the punches. I'm pretty sure that's correct. But I look back in my life and I see the young and mature man I used to be, and I realize now that if I was in the situation that I'm in now, like 5 or 10 years ago, it would have been like almost a death of me, because I would not have had I did not have the mental fortitude back then that I have now. And that fortitude unfortunately has come from dealing with like major like life issues. Like my mother passed away last year, my father passed away, like both my parents passed away, but my father passed away almost 10 years ago. And like both of my parents died very, very what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, brutally is kind of like putting it very gruesomely, but my father, he spent the last 2 weeks of his life in a coma. He was like strapped into like 7 machines just to keep him alive, and at the very end he was having seizures. I don't, when you see somebody who's in a coma like have a seizure, it's very traumatizing. And in my mother, I wasn't with her when she passed away because she passed away abroad. But like I saw the videos of her. She had pneumonia, and she also was in a coma at the end of her life because she had like kidney failure. So she basically went abroad because she didn't want to do dialysis, and she was hoping to find like a doctor abroad who can like treat her without having to do the dialysis. And one day when she was alone at her family's house, she fell. That they think that's what happened. She probably lost consciousness, or she fainted and fell and hit her head, and she went into coma after that. And she got pneumonia because on top of the kidney failure, she also had low blood platelets. So it took her forever to scab up. When they put a breathing tube in her, it punctured her lungs, and basically like she was drowning in her own blood, in her lungs. So like I was like watching videos of her just like struggling to breathe, and like they would have to take out the oxygen tube just to drain out the blood. And I mean, I wasn't with her when that happened, but I was so close. Like if she had lived like 2 days longer, I would have been there to be with her at the end of her life, because I had to get a new passport, and like I've been there for that. I had to travel abroad and go I didn't do it by myself, but I had to go like make funeral arrangements with my family to bring her back home to the U.S. And it's not it's not easy, but now that I've gotten older and now that I've experienced hardships, these things, while they don't get easier, you just get better at operating through the hardship, if that makes any sense. But I mean, going back to like my whole situation, like I work across the city that I live in. Now I don't have a car, and I'm trying to be proactive with my dog, but I don't have a car to take him to the vet. So um, it's all like compiling up at a really bad time. But I'm just gonna take a quick drink of water. But I'm not letting it get to me. I have savings. I have my emergency savings, which is what I'm gonna have to, use to get through this situation. But I'm not looking. This situation isn't a negative in my eyes. It sucks. You know, I wish I wasn't going through it, but I am, and I'm just not gonna let it get to me because this is. I've been fortunate enough to have my savings, my emergency fund, and this is precisely what it's for. It sucks that I'm gonna be set back big time because whatever the issue with my car is, it's not gonna be a cheap fix, especially if I want it done right. And my job, I wasn't gonna grow in the position that I was in. Like, I primarily stayed at that company because I love my coworkers. Um, but it's been going downhill since the pandemic. It's not surprising that they've cut our hours. I'm just surprised that they decided to cut it during our peak season. So telling me, oh, we got to cut your hours, and then like a week later, I'm working 6 days a week because we got all these last minute clientele coming into town and needing our services. It's frustrating because they tell you like, oh, we have to cut your hours, unfortunately, like we don't want to do this. So your mindset is, or at least I should say my mindset was, okay, I'm going to use this time to update my resume and work on some of my pet projects, this YouTube channel, the other YouTube channel that I'm working on, reading books. I've been actually reading books since I've gone part-time. Like, my emergency savings was just to kind of, hold me by until I knew for sure if my job was gonna bring in enough business to warrant me going back full-time, or at least keep me afloat until I found another job. But now I'm gonna have to use my emergency fund to fix my car. But I don't see this as a bad thing because it's allowed me to. I'm fortunate enough that I have that savings to, cushion me for the time being. But I have been able to get back to reading because I have a whole bunch of books that I've been getting but not actually reading. So I'm very happy that I'm actually forcing myself to read. And I'm working on this YouTube channel, even though this is only my second video and my first one was like 3 or 4 months ago. But I've been getting footage captured, so I have, all I have to do at this point is just record audio. So it's not the end of the world. But if this was me 5 or 10 years ago, it would have felt like the end of the world to me because you're young, you don't really know how to navigate the world by yourself. You don't really know how to be self-reliant. And now I'm much more I just had the word in my mind. It's not vigilant, but resilient. Now I'm much more resilient. I've had to bury people. I've had to bury dogs before. Well, cremated, but you get the point. Um, I've lost jobs that I really, really loved before. I've gotten I've gotten set back financially back in 2022 because of the stock market crash, and it's been a pain getting back in, but I've done it, and I'm not worried about the future right now. And that's the thing about Stoicism that really resonates with me, is just knowing that my mindset has shifted towards I can only stress about the things that I can control, and I cannot stress about the things I have no control over, because what good would that do me? It doesn't. I've had I've been there before where major, like, these situations in life has really gotten me down, where I've gotten depressed, where I've gotten really resentful, and that has never really paid off. It just hasn't. Just lashing out at families and coworkers and friends because, I'm having a bad day, or I'm having a bad couple of months, or, I went through a breakup, or, you know, X, Y, and Z. My car was broken into. Previously another car of mine was broken into, and I had camera equipment of mine stolen because the one day I leave it in my car is the one day my car gets broken into. The irony. But I've always rebounded. Like, one saying that has really grown on me over the years is life has a way of working itself out. And it always has for me. I can be a little bit greedy, and I could always say, like, oh, I didn't rebound like tenfold. I didn't go from a $30,000 job to like a $75,000 job. No, but I've always gotten back on my feet, and I've always been able to, be self-reliant all over again. But I'm not stressed out about this. The way I see it is, if I'm going to be part-time, maybe I just quit my job. I probably mentioned this already. It wasn't really anywhere for me to grow. And I liked working there because of my coworkers. So I can find another job that's way closer to me, where I won't need my car. And, once I get my car fixed, I know that it's going to be reliable because I've had a lot of work done to it already. Just now it just needs an engine, a new engine, or at least major work done on the engine. So I'm not stressed out. And my dog, he's still pretty healthy, God willing. But even though he's showing some symptom, he's still extremely healthy. He still has a great appetite. He's still very energetic and whatnot. So I'm not taking this as the end of the world as I probably would have before. But I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping this up, because I know I tend to ramble, and that's just because, like, I don't script these things out. If I don't just shoot off the cuff, I'm just gonna try to, like, write a script, and I will nitpick that script. I'm too much of a perfectionist for my own good. So even though, like, this still has very few subscribers, I would love to hear from anybody who's going through any situations. I may not have the wisest advice ever, but I always advocate that, a stranger is the perfect person you can vent your issues to, because they're a stranger. And if anybody has anything to say, feel free to comment. But this has been Vulcan Gaming. Till next time.